Well, hello and welcome to the 33rd episode of our front yard garden in the South Carolina upstate for this year. It is September 21st of 2024. This will be the last episode of the summer this year, as tomorrow is the first day of fall, and we will continue to do these episodes until the flowers are gone, which will be another probably 8 weeks or so. So we'll get started here. It's a beautiful Saturday morning, just clear and perfect weather, about 75 degrees, no rain in sight. And so as usual, we're going to start with our mailbox bed here and show off some of the morning glories that are left. They have definitely peaked. I was under the mistaken impression that we would continue to have large numbers of flowers until the frosts came, but this plant has it's peaked. It was putting out large numbers of flowers maybe a month ago, but that has really slowed down. Interestingly enough, along with the few morning glories, we have a few clematis that are blooming. Normally this is a spring vine. A lot of the clematis leaves have died off, as you can see here around the mailbox, but still getting a few flowers here and there. Hard to tell them that apart from the morning glories, because they're almost identical in color. Also here in this bed are a lot of vinca. These have been growing all season, both a few larger ones that we got from our local Walmart, and then a few here that have come up from seed from last year. Although they have not done as well as they did last year. I think that's been the case with a lot of our reseeded plants, mainly because of the hot summer. We had a very, very hot summer, over 90 degrees most days for quite an extended period of time, and some plants are fine with that, but some are not. And so one plant that has been absolutely fine with it are these zinnias, and you can see still, even though they have, I won't say they've peaked, but they are not putting out quite as many as they were. Although we will continue to get flowers for probably another 6 weeks or so. And as I always say, we've got a lot of different colors. The predominant one right now, in this bed at least, is pink, although we do also have yellow and orange, and even a couple of bright red ones. And we'll see more red ones in a little bit later in the tour. So moving onward, we'll come up to the front of the house, our little triangle bed here. We did some weeding yesterday, have not cleaned up after ourselves, but I'm not sure weeding is all that valuable at this point in the year. It does look a little bit nicer, but it's kind of a lost cause because a lot of the weeds have just sort of taken over. We'll see that a lot more in our backyard video coming up later. But in this bed, we really just have two things right now. A lot of vinca, which are completely surrounding the edge of the bed. Most of these have either come up from seed, like along here, or the ones that my wife Jenny has grown from seed earlier in the spring and planted, and they're all doing very, very well. Vinca has been wildly successful in our bed. When we lived in Ohio years ago, we tended to use more impatiens in this setting for borders and so on. Impatiens have not done anywhere near as well. They don't really like the heat all that much, but vinca just thrive on them, as you can see here. And you've got a variety of pink and lavender and white with the vinca, and they've got a lot more flowers. They will continue to bloom pretty thoroughly like this until we get to the frost level in another probably 6 weeks or so. Here we have our little petite knockout rose doing pretty well. It didn't do so well in the heat either. Kind of struggled over the summer, but right now it's putting out some nice flowers, so it's a nice addition to the garden. Got some zinnias over here. Not a lot of new flowers on these right now, and the ones that we do have are sort of fading in color. It's better than nothing, but they're not thriving like they were a while back. They know the end of summer is coming. We had a nice one here that had bright red roses. I think it either, I'm not sure if it got run over by a car or got a parasite, but it just sort of has started to look really, really poor in here in the last week. We do have one tomato. It's a very odd tomato. Right here, it's got these very long, I don't know if these are Roma tomatoes or what. They're very small, and they have very thick skin. They're not necessarily the easiest things to eat. Something came along here and knocked a bunch of growing ones off. We still have a few others. This just came up randomly from seed. Sort of an odd little thing, but you see that in gardens sometimes. And along with that, these black-eyed Susans have done the same thing. We did not plant these here, but they have come up in large numbers and given us some really nice color at this time of the year. And that's key, because in this bed, the only other things right now that are blooming are the zinnias, which are as I say, sort of fading, and climbing rose back here, which has done well through the year, but it appears to be done now. We might get one or two more blossoms before the end of the year, but for the most part, it's done. The only other thing that is having any success right now is this dahlia. It has been sort of strangely sitting here with buds on it for seemingly weeks, and here in the last week or so, it has finally started to, or I should say, the blossoms have finally started to open up, and absolutely beautiful flowers, a good 4 or 5 inches across, with really nice dark red color and the yellow streaks. More zinnias through here, but nothing else of note. Certainly over here we have our hydrangeas, which are done for the year, starting to lose their leaves. Their blooms still have some residual color, but there's not much really going on there. Same thing over here. This area is definitely more of a spring and early summer bed. Now I will say, and this is worth watching for, we have in our little lemon grove here, we have 4 little miniature lemon trees. This one, just out of nowhere, popped out a bunch of buds and a couple of open flowers here in the last week or so. I just sort of caught up with that. None of the others have any blooms or even buds on them right now. It's usually something you see in the spring, but these things tend to have their own timetable sometimes, and it's kind of hard to figure when they're going to blossom. But I don't really anticipate any fruit off of this, but it's still fun to watch the flowers, and the fragrance is just wonderful. It makes you feel like you're in Southern California. Over in here, again, more of a spring and summer bed. Not a lot to see here. Still have some azaleas blooming. They're having their second wind, as I like to call it. Over here, kind of the same thing. A few flowers, nothing like what you see in the spring. This bed will be full of color in April, when the viburnum are out with their bright white blossoms, and more azaleas, along with hostas and iris. We're going to have a lot going on here next spring. Just right now, we're about done. Butterfly bush here, we're going to be cutting this back. It's done for the year, but it has gotten too big for its britches, and not giving us the kind of color that we really want here. This will also be in bloom next year, the knockout rose. Not a whole lot going on here right now. We've got, I think, one single rose and that's it. Typically, these have been a little easier to deal with in the past, a little lower maintenance. This year, we didn't do a lot of deadheading, and I think that's ultimately what kept them from blooming more than what they have. But they really were impressive in the spring, and that's what made them worthwhile. Here we have some salvia, still blooming. Primarily a spring flower, but we got a nice second wind here in the late summer, and gives us a little bit of blue to offset all the pink and orange in this bed. Also, along with the vinca and zinnias, which are the main performers right now in this bed, we do have this little wildflower. We don't know the name of it. I've shown this off before. It's kind of spread all over the place. It's a fairly prolific vine, and it gives us these really cute little flowers, and there are quite a few of them. Don't know the name of it though. It's just a really nice little addition that we did not plan for. Also have some phlox back in here that are still doing pretty well, and even though we have a few zinnias here still blooming, although they are certainly past their high point. Our big knockout roses through here, the pink, red, and coral ones are done. But again, this is something we didn't plant, not sure where it came from. A type of morning glory, which has grown up. You can kind of see here the vine has grown up on top of the coral knockout rose. Actually, the coral knockout rose has a couple flowers on it. Thought that was long since finished for the year. But these morning glories are doing really, really well. It's interesting, I've learned a bit about morning glories down here. They do a little bit better in the south than they did in the north. And there are a lot of different types. We're going to see more of those in the backyard. We have quite a few there, and they're different sizes and shapes, and so they're kind of fun. And even though the big one in the mailbox bed is just about done, we've got these others that are still going to be blooming for a while. Not much else on the back side of this bed. We had a lot of monarda or bee balm here. There is actually one single flower still blooming, but primarily that's an early summer flower that is done now for the year, along with all of our Asiatic and Oriental lilies and daylilies and so forth. You know, all of those are long since finished up as 2024 starts to wind down. But that's really about it for the front. Not a lot going on here, but definitely some color that was worth showing off. And as I say, we'll continue to do these for a few more weeks, and hope it's sunny wherever you are. And until next time, happy gardening.